Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to a bit of a more special video episode today. I will actually be showcasing for the very first time my newly completed gun holster for my DeWitt cosplay. This won't actually be a full tutorial, but more of a general breakdown of the processes and materials that I used. And the reason being is because this is my first time even dealing with the concept of a gun holster and working with leather, so I honestly did not know how it was going to turn out. Regardless, I hope you all enjoy, and maybe you'll pick up a few tricks along the way. First off, you will be needing, of course, a type of leather, fabric, or material. I myself used recycled vinyl leather because it was a lot cheaper than genuine leather, because of course I'm a broke cosplayer after all. But recycled vinyl leather can still be a bit pricey depending on where you buy it from and how much you buy as well. If you have the funds, by all means use genuine leather, but this all depends on your skill level and how realistic you want your prop to be. For now, my fake stuff is definitely playing a fantastic stunt double. You will also be needing a type of adhesive. I myself decided to use rubber cement leather bond. I've tried various types of adhesives such as crazy glue and hot glue and hardware adhesive, but this type of adhesive was the only one that worked effectively on my leather material, so I swear by it 100%. Of course, you'll be needing a needle and thread, and that thread can be in any color that you want. For thread, preferably you would want a heavy-duty or outdoor use nylon type of thread. This being because it holds up better with wear and tear, and it also kind of gives you a more of a thick stitched look, but you'll see more of that further on in this video. Of course, to connect all of your leather pieces and straps, you will be needing some snap buttons, rivets, and buckles. I used a vintage looking brass color for each of these things, but you can also buy spray paint if you can't find any buckles or snaps in a brass color. Probably one of the more crucial tools that you'll be needing are punching tools. I myself used a 4-prong hole punch for the edging along each of the leather pieces, which you can use with a rubber mallet or hammer, and also a handheld punch for the snap, rivet, and buckle holes. It just more so makes it a lot easier. Also, some other various items you might want to have nearby when you're making your gun holster are some scissors. Definitely make sure they are sharp. Measuring tools such as rulers, protractors, and triangle rulers. An X-Acto knife, and a marker or pen so that you can draw out your patterns. I would like to make a note that the colors and tones that I chose for the leather and snaps and buckles are all based on references and photos that I've seen of Booker's holster, and what I'd expect honestly to see in Bioshock Infinite's sort of era and setting. But if you are using this breakdown as a reference for a different character's holster, or if you want to exercise some creativity with colors, then feel free to do that with other colors and other tones and that sort of thing. Now, most of the pieces that make up the holster itself are based off of references from concept art and the game trailers, so Google will definitely be your best friend here. Literally all I did was search Booker DeWitt in the Google image search bar, and you come up with tons of photos of the character himself, or again, you can search for the Bioshock Infinite game trailers. It's also very important to keep in mind that every piece of this gun holster is supposed to be proportionate to your body. Obviously, my body and the size of my gun holster will be much different from yours, especially if you're smaller or larger than me, or have different measurements. Using that knowledge of how the pieces would look on the character himself and then imagining how it would look on you proportionate to your body is very valuable in terms of basing the length and sizing of each pieces. Now, using the measurements that I had taken from my body, I ended up applying those to a basic pattern, and for the patterns I more so just hand drew them on some paper. I kind of refined them using some rulers and protractors, but for the most part I free-handed this part, especially for the back cross piece and the shoulder pads, as well as the ammo patches. So hopefully either you can vector a pattern of some sort, or you can kind of MacGyver out a pattern just by hand drawing. There was one exception though with patterns. I ended up using for the basic belts and straps that connect each of the larger pieces, such as the back cross piece and the ammo patch and gun holster. I ended up using a belt that I had somewhere in my closet, and I used that as a general outline for the size of the straps that I'd be using. If you have a belt, you can definitely use that, or if you want to freehand it, it's up to you really, but it honestly made my job a lot more easier having a basic belt shape. Once I have all of my basic patterns drawn onto paper, I will then transfer those onto the leather fabric. Of course, what you should always do is draw it on the back side so that you don't have marker or pen marks showing on the front of the leather. Make sure that when you are copying your patterns onto the leather that you cut out 2 of each of your patterns, because you will be gluing those 2 together to have a front and back piece. Once you have your pieces cut out, like I said, you can always refine the edges, clean them up if need be, and then we're on to gluing. Like I said previously before, I've had the best luck with the rubber cement adhesive. It is meant for leather and it is a really great product. Now, this product is supposedly toxic to breathe in the fumes, so please use this in a well-ventilated area. It is recommended to apply the glue to each of the sides that you will be adhering to each other, and to wait about 5 to 10 minutes so that the adhesive can get tacky. To speed up the process, I would sometimes just blow on the areas to kind of cool it off or make it more tacky and dry, or you can use a hairdryer on a cool setting, which should help as well. To see optimal results, what I did was I left my pieces to kind of sit and cure overnight, just so that the adhesive really had time to bond. Once I had the 2 sides glued together of each piece, I set onto punching holes into all of these pieces along the edges. This can be quite a time-consuming job, so if you have some music or some YouTube videos that you want to watch or listen to while you're doing it, then that is probably best. I can estimate that I probably spent at least 10 hours just punching holes using my hole punchers, and of course, once you have all of the holes punched into all of your pieces, then you can go ahead and start the grueling task of stitching these pieces. Again, a very time-consuming act. It again probably took me at least 10 to 20 hours to stitch all of these pieces. Now, the technique that I ended up using for the stitching was a double pass. So I would make one loop around the holes, or the 2 holes that you would see, and then I would make another one to sort of give it a thicker style stitch, as you can see in the video, and then I would move on to the next 2 holes and do the same pattern over and over. So as you can see, as to why it took me a lot longer, it's pretty much a double times the job than it would take just to stitch one time over each hole. Finally, once all of the pieces are stitched and ready to go, I punched a hole in the ends where the snaps would be applied. Once the holes were punched, I would use a kit that's provided when you usually buy snaps to put the snaps in place and to kind of hammer them in so that they don't come loose. And once you have all the snaps in place, then you can put all of your gun holster pieces together and you will have your completed Booker DeWitt shoulder gun holster. I ended up using one of my plastic prop cosplay guns that I got from the dollar store and pretty much wrapped a piece of white paper around it and kind of drew a rough outline around it to make the actual leather gun holster pattern. For the actual gun holster piece, again, I did the same process of punching the holes and stitching the whole piece. The only difference with the ammo patches is I did not punch holes or stitch them. I ended up cutting small slits into the basic back portion of the ammo patch, which is a general square, and I ended up pulling little flaps of the ammo patches through and gluing it onto the back. As you can see on my gun holster, it isn't really finished. If you were to look onto the back, you would see the raw edges in plain view, and obviously it's not a finished project, but I was just so happy to be done with the holster, so I don't really worry about that kind of fine things. So that is it for this general gun holster breakdown. Obviously, as you can tell, this is not a full tutorial, so if you have any comments or questions about the processes I used or anything in regards to the gun holster, please feel free to leave them down below and I will try to answer them as best as possible. Like I mentioned before, I am a total beginner to this type of prop and leather work sort of concept. So if you have any tips and tricks that you would like to add, again, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'm always looking to learn and I'm sure others would be interested as well. If you are interested in seeing more photos of the gun holster or my Booker DeWitt cosplay, be sure to check out my Facebook cosplay page as well as my Tumblr blog, my main blog. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed and I will see you in the next cosplay showcase or cosplay work log. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya!